Good? How we doing today? All right, game week. I know we're excited. Our players are excited. Coaches are excited. Obviously, a big transition getting into a game week. The mindset for everybody, and we talked to it with the team this morning about developing their routine. Things will be a little bit different for them, I'm sure, this year. I didn't get into much how they've done it throughout their career in the past, just kind of how we're going to run our schedule, how we expect them to prepare to get themselves into a routine and get themselves ready to go into game week right now. But you can see, that different change of mentality, the change of mindset of everybody. And the coaches, it's exciting. We're getting to put a game plan together, and not just, installing and teaching just the offense and the defense and going against each other, the opportunity to get to go against somebody else, the opportunity to get in the swamp and have our fans pack the swamp and, all the excitement that they've created. You get back to the spring game and how exciting that was. And, now it's for real to get out there, the Gator Walk, and see everybody coming out for that. And just the energy. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know I'm fired up and ready to get out there and get the season kicked off. Practice, the first 2 weeks, we'll do things a little differently, too, in practice. We're going to practice a little bit later than we normally would because we have night games and weather-wise, so we'll do is push practices a little bit later in the evenings for our guys and try to get them adjusted and their bodies on the clock to get ready to go perform a little bit later in the evenings. Let's see. Going into the game right now, injury-wise, Sean Davis be questionable this week. Not sure. We might know later in the week, but be at best a game-time decision. David Reese will be questionable this week. Be a game-time decision. Jacob Copeland is going to be doubtful for this week, and C.J. McWilliams will be questionable this week to see how he progresses as we get closer to the game. For the injury. Interesting deal getting to play Charleston Southern, second year in a row opening up with them for me as a staff, not the team here, but for our coaching staff. So it's it's a different, it's a unique deal. I think both teams, a lot of for their guys have gone against our offense and our defense, so they probably have a little bit more experience. But when you're watching the film, you're getting to see how they played us on both sides of the ball last year and in the kicking game, and so it'll be an interesting little deal for us, of a little bit of familiarity within the coaching staff. It's not really our players, but within the coaching staff, obviously their players have a little familiarity, really not with our personnel, but within our scheme coming into the game. So they got some talented players out there that have had some success. You got All-American on the defensive line that's really quick, explosive player. Can cause a lot of disruption. Might not have the size of teams we play, but they certainly are very quick and fast on defense. An all-conference wide receiver that can hit the big play. And they're a unique offense on the offensive side of the ball. The option-style offense that they run with the shotgun is a little bit unique. So a lot of returning starters and veteran players. And so I know they have high aspirations for this season. So it should be fun, exciting challenge.
Thanks for announcing the quarterback, by the way.
Yeah, you guys are welcome. You got all that stuff.
What went into the decision for Felipe?
What we looked at is we have some young quarterbacks that I think all have really bright futures, and in their development, all of them are a long way from finished product of what we need to see. So as Brian and I sat down, we looked at who would give us the best opportunity to win now. Not projecting where they're going to be or how they're going to develop or how they'll grow throughout the years, but right now when we hit out in the field running our offense, who's going to give us the best opportunity to win? And, a lot of it we felt, Felipe and some of the ability to extend plays, some of his athleticism right now will give us the best opportunity to win games.
Did when did he kind of take the step ahead of Kyle?
Was it I don't know. It was pretty close. If you go to the grades, we're right there. It was really some of the, it was the extra little things of the extending the plays, the intangibles, because I think they were pretty even back and forth with learning the offense and and developing. Here's the thing. I met with them the other day, and all of them, I mean, all of them have a lot more development ahead of them. I sat down with each of the quarterbacks and said, hey, we got a long way to go in still our development of where I expect you to be. But that's what great quarterbacks are always getting better. And you're looking at, 3 guys that have in the quarterback room that have, really had an offense. They've run it in spring and a fall camp only. It's not the 3rd, 4th, 5th time. I mean, a lot of times you look at quarterbacks and say, hey, they've had 3 springs and 3 falls, and now they're going to be the starter. These guys are all 1. So I think there's still a lot more development in all their futures. But, it came down to just watching what Felipe could do, and within the offense right now, where they're all at in their development stages, he would give us the best chance to win.
Hey, Dan, you have a track record of playing to the strengths of QBs. With Felipe, what are those strengths for him? What does he do well that kind of stands out to you that you could kind of tap into for the offense?
Well, I mean, obviously he's got a strong arm, so he can do some different things and make throws that a lot of people can't, just on pure talent. I think he's got a very good athletic ability, and so that can show in his ability to run the ball, can show in his ability to scramble and extend plays. I mean, he's got good size to being a physical player, and I don't think he's worried. He's not nervous about being a physical player. He's got some toughness that way. So when you look at those things, those are some things that we'll build on. As again he continues to grow within the making his reads, how fast he makes his reads, the accuracy, and I know everybody hates it, but the unspectacular plays that quarterbacks make them great quarterbacks. I mean, the fact that they got recruited here shows they can make the spectacular plays, and then they got to learn to make the unspectacular ones on a daily basis. But that's all the guys just have that learn from that experience and repetition.
How much did his experience, having played in games, kind of factor into the right now part of the equation?
I didn't look at that. I really didn't. I mean, because I never got to see him play in a game, so I didn't use that as part of the evaluation.
You touched on the unspectacular plays. So how much progress has he made in that?
They're coming along. They're coming along. A lot of it is, in their thought process and the number of times they get to see it, and understanding what's going to happen kind of before it happens, right? I mean, and they're all still learning. I'm like, hey, ball snapped. It's going there, right? They're like, what? Hold on, let me read this and then read that. I'm like, you can bypass all that because against that look, this is how it's going to play out. But that comes from experience. And, because they're looking at things and saying, okay, but that's not my read right now. And you got to teach them. They got to learn how to do it. And you can't take that shortcut to that step. But it's just progressing that experience of just getting repetition and repetition and repetition over and over and over again.
Dan, you've been through opening days before, and you've been through a first game as a head coach. Can you just talk about what it's like for you in terms of whether it's butterflies, whether it's anticipation, whether it's excitement?
Yeah, it's well, it'll be all those things. I hope this one goes better than the last one, not like the result of the game. The last one, we ran out of the tunnel, smoke, hit the sideline, lightning strike. We all took it back in. So I ran out of the tunnel and within 30 seconds got called off. I mean, all that juice, energy, excitement, bang, get back in the tunnel. We got a lightning delay. So let's hope that we avoid that on Saturday. But it will. I'm going to tell you, in week one, first game here, I do think I'll be a little bit more relaxed in the terms of everything going on, of not paranoid that, I know every detail. I know our coaches know it, and I know our players will learn the routine instead of freaking out if someone's not in the routine. Of making sure we're spending time coaching it and not letting that out. Probably 9 years ago, I might have been a little bit more uptight about every, every little thing. You know, is this guy, they wearing the exact right clothes? And they'll figure it out. But I think for the excitement of game one, the other one I get nervous of is you get into a routine as a coach. So John Clark and I mean, I'll ask him about 50 times a day, what are we missing? What are we not doing? Because like you get out, you're not in the current routine. So I'll be like, okay, did I forget what one little thing did I forget that normally, you know, in a game week I roll through my routine and you're used to doing it.
One of the things, there's been a lot of different jerseys worn over the last few years. Why did you guys settle on the traditional blue and white?
That was pretty easy for me. This is my first game here. You know, I mean, you see that uniform combination, there's no question of what team that is. You know, I mean, there's a lot of them you could see, and you're like, boy, what team is it? To me, that we go with our traditional uniform combination. Everybody in the country knows that's the Florida Gators, and so I love doing the different uniforms and having fun, and the players having a good time with it and seeing different things. But for me, game one, I want to be in. Huh? I'm not as much as I used to be in control of everything we wear, but I was very encouraging into being traditional uniform for game one.
How did the other two quarterbacks handle that? And then given what you've said about experience and game experience, do you want to get each of them some snaps in that first game?
Yeah, well, in the first, you never know how a game's going to play out, you know, so I won't go, we're not planning right now to go in with a set, you know, you're going in this series, you're going in that series. I've done that in the past, but we're not going to have that. We're going to see we're going to, you know, let the game play out right now. But I love, like at any position, I love playing players and getting them experience and getting them on the field, and that helps their growth and development. I don't know how they've handled it yet because they, you know, we met on Friday afternoon, and, you know, we haven't had a practice since. So I want to see, you know, in the response of how they handled now, I want to see how everybody handles the role. You know, obviously, there'll be a bunch of little different things, how everybody handles it, their preparation and their routine, and we got to do a good job coaching them up to get into that routine within that preparation. Excuse me.
Edgar, and if you pass back to Cassidy afterwards. So, what's like a good week of preparation kind of look like to you? I mean, what do you want to get done, need to get done this week?
Well, all right. So today. You know, today we're going to introduce everything, you know, within the first down game plan on offense and defense. I want to see our guys play at a certain intensity level, especially if you start going against scout teams, to me. And I want the crispness of the practice, you know, to be and it looks sharp with the different guys, the look teams going against the scout teams going. That, you know, they're not at a walkthrough. They understand how to practice the intensity needed to be successful. You know, I'm okay today. We make some mistakes. We clean some of those things up and install some things. You know, I mean, you're going to make some mistakes and correct throughout the week. Thursday's the day you want to look really sharp and comfortable in what's going on. Friday, you want to build confidence and understand every different scenario and thing that can happen in the game. Saturday routine for our guys will be probably different than what they're used to within how we do our Saturday walkthroughs. We're a little more relaxed on Friday night, and you know, we kind of really walk things through to polish it up multiple times on Saturday. You know, and then teach them about the buildup. You know, I mean, one thing, we don't kick it off till 7:30 Saturday night, so I mean, everything should build for that moment. You know, we don't need to peak with our excitement or our intensity on Thursday, Friday, or, you know, Saturday at 8 a.m., like wake up wired, ready to go. We got a long day of preparation ahead of us, and then explode when that foot hits the ball Saturday night.
The other thing is you're opening up with a opponent, like you even said, won't be as big as some that you face and things, and good for a first year, but ideal situation, like you guys get Miami next year, I guess. Do you like a big-time game out of the gates, or is it nice to get a little warm-up?
Yeah, either. I've had both. I don't know if there's a strong suit one way or the other. I maybe for the first time everybody's getting used to our routine. It doesn't hurt us this year. You know, I mean, it's not a bad thing this year. But, you know, I mean, they're like I said, these guys bring a different challenge than another team will. You know what I mean? Where you look at their nose tackle, who's really, really quick. You know, I mean, he's got the speed of everybody we're going to play at this league level, you know, or better. He's just not as big, but there's something to that of having to block those type of guys, or they can cause problems and issues for you, you know. And also, I mean, you got a team that they're going to come in. This is a great opportunity for them coming in here to go prove themselves against a team. A lot of their guys weren't recruited to come to Florida, you know, and this is their shot to go show what they can do. So. It's a lot about mental focus and us really playing to our level this week.
Hey, Dan, right here. You also talked about, in addition to the intangibles, looking for those leadership qualities, how they come back to the line of scrimmage or come away from an incompletion. What did Felipe show in those regards?
He's improving at that stuff. You know, I mean, we spend time of showing, look at your body language here or body language after a good play or after a bad play, you know, or after a average play, you know, I mean, all the different things. What's your demeanor? What's your attitude? How are you talking to the guys? You know, how are you raising the level of play around you? Having to understand individually your teammates, because everybody responds differently to different things. So, you know, I talk to all of them. You know, they got to play quarterback for us. You got to have some thick skin. Because, I mean, you're the quarterback of the Florida Gators. And, you know, I mean, you got to treat every day like a coach. You know, I mean, if right, I mean, the best way I look at it is, you know, I mean, I just tell Dak Prescott, right, if you don't like the pressure and the situation you're in, throw a bunch of picks, right? And you don't have to worry about being the starting quarterback anymore. I don't know, you know, I mean, how do you want to handle it? You don't like the Heisman Trophy hype, throw picks. No one cares about you, you know. But for those guys, one of the things they have to learn is, hey, you know, you're going to have some good days, you're going to have some bad days, okay? What matters is what goes on in our development behind closed doors. You know, if you have a huge day, everyone's going to tell you how great you are. If you have a bad day, everyone's going to tell you how bad you are. What really matters is let's study the film, let's improve and continue to develop and not worry about what everybody outside perception is of where you are and what you're doing.
Safety was a spot during camp that you guys were a little banged up, maybe provided some opportunities for some guys. Sounds like Donovan Steiner is one that really kind of seized it.
Yeah, he's had a really, really good camp. And you know, I mean, as a younger player, that is stepping into that time when you're expecting him to kind of grow up and play a little bit more with a new defense. I think the reps, the opportunity presents itself, and he's taking advantage of that. So he's going to have a significant role in the secondary.
We haven't seen him much. What does he bring in terms of skill set?
You know, I think he's improved his athleticism. He's got some athleticism back there, which you want to be athletic at the safety position. The ability, you know, we ask our safeties to do a bunch. You got to cover. You got to be physical in the run, and you got to erase issues and problems. And you know, I think his athleticism allows him to do those things.
Felipe seems pretty popular with the team. How does the team respond to him?
They're all good. You know, I think one of the things I thought all the quarterbacks have done a good job, and Brian did a good job, is we've rolled the guys through so that, you know, I think one of the things I learned, I couldn't tell you one, but I would have to really think back in a situation where all of a sudden the ones only went with the one quarterback. And all of a sudden the one quarterback gets hurt and another quarterback steps into the huddle, right? The confidence of the team's like, hey, I've never even played with this cat. Who is this guy? You know? So I think Brian does a really good job of having those guys, you know, rolling them through, getting different reps with different groups of players so that there's confidence with the different quarterbacks that are in the game. And I think, you know, all those guys, we talk to them, they have to have the respect of their teammates. You know, I mean, to me, a great quarterback is a guy that can demand excellence from them on the practice field, push them and get in their face in the weight room if they're not working hard enough, right? Make sure and jump them for not going to class. And at the end of the day, that's the first person they want to go hang out with after, boy, this guy has been all over me all day, and that's the first person I still want to hang out with afterwards. You know, first guy in the locker room, that's my boy. there's a certain respect level that comes with that they earn from the guys. And I think they're learning that that's what the leadership aspect within the team is.
One more, you were talking about like game day logistic type stuff that you used to like worry about. What have you thought about any of this stuff? Running, how you want to run out of the tunnel? Who picks the uniforms, for example? I mean, who team captains? How do you handle stuff like all this kind of game day stuff?
Captains, I got to discuss. You know, we voted and different things for captains. I want to discuss it whether, you know, if you look at the balance, do we have, you know, game captains or yearly captains in year one, or how that works out. I'll figure that out as we go. I don't think we have smoke lined up right now running out of the tunnel, do we? I used to have a lot. Huh? Yeah, well, I mean, I'm in that front group. I want to get the heck out of the way. We had a lot of smoke one game, and that was bad, right? You got to, like, remind them, get a hand, and keep going. Because one guy ran down, only like 7 people ran out of the tunnel one game. Like, there was a pile up in a smoke behind us. They didn't, like, all of a sudden you ran out, like, uh-oh. We only got 7 of us to play the game. No, I don't, that stuff. I mean, one of the things I think that's different, I mean, I know here in the Swamp our sidelines are tight, you know, and the fans are right on top of you, which is really cool. But it's a packed space for the get-back coaches to make sure everybody stays back off the field. But I think, one, I've been through it a lot. I think we have a bunch of our coaches that have been on the staff and understand it and understand their responsibility. So I think the coaches know how to coach all the guys through it until it becomes very routine for every player on the team, you know, of this is how we're doing every detail of leading into the game of what our game day routine is.
Obviously, you got a lot of talent at wide receiver, but what has Josh Hammond done to kind of separate himself?
You know what? The great thing I think Josh does is one, I mean, he's like the leadership committee member of the wide receiver position. He's a great leader within that group, both not afraid to get after people and by example. In what he does, I think he brings flexibility in that you feel comfortable. He can play at several different positions on the field and a knowledge and a standard that we expect from the program. And I think that leadership quality at the position is where he just stands out for everybody within that group.
Do you anticipate any suspensions for the opener?
If there are, we'll announce them on Saturday for you.
Obviously, Coach, going into a season opener from all your years at Mississippi State, you kind of knew what you were getting into as a play caller. You knew your team, you knew your quarterback in most years. How much fun are you looking forward to just, you know, the newness of trying to call plays and be creative?
Yeah, I guess. Is that fun? Like, it's as a play caller, sometimes it's good to know what you're doing, what's going to happen, how everyone's going to respond to plays. It'll be adventurous more, maybe. That's of seeing things. As we say, I talked to the offense about it. You know, I expect us offensively as we prepare during the week. You know, I've been there before, and you look at teams, you know, and I look at both teams where, you know, the offense, you call the play, and everybody kind of already was expecting that play to be called. In that situation, that's a team that knows they're all in sync, they're all in flow, they understand the game plan, they know why we're doing what we're doing. I've seen other teams where it's a blank page, you know, and you hope that's not your team, you hope that's the other team, where they look to the sideline to get the play, and like, I mean, every play's like, I mean, they're like, okay, run this play, instead of they, you know, I mean, I love it when the quarterback looks, you know, partway through the signal, he's good because he already knows what we're doing in this situation and how they've been playing, how we want to attack it. That's how you want us to be as a team and play with that sort of confidence.
Hey, Coach. So what went into the decision to put Ja'Kai Polite over C.C. Jefferson, the depth chart?
He's had a great camp. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's had a great training camp. He's worked his tail off, and, I mean, that's the effort you give on the field.
With the kicker situation, is that a deal where Powell handles the shorter kicks, possibly McPherson longer, or are you plan on having one guy do both?
No, I think, the hardest thing for me is I'll see how they respond getting closer to the game. They haven't been in this situation where they're expected to go kick on a Saturday. So heck, I mean, that could be something that gets decided as we run out of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, you go in there and like you get into pregame warmups, and one guy's like, freaks out. Like, okay. I want to see how they react because they got to think about it the whole week of possibly being out there and having to go do it live and who handles that situation the best. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to see, again, that's, a situation I want to see right now. Because now we're getting into a game week. You're getting into a game plan for those guys. It's a tight battle, so I want to see who's going to handle that the best, Brett Hagee been banged up a little bit, but he's back healthy now, and see how that works, if he's going to be more comfortable competing at center possibly or guard as the week goes as well. Possibly. Just with the reps, depending on how the other two guys are handling it, because a lot of those guys are going to be interchangeable at those positions. Good deal. Thank you all. Have a great day.
You watch any football this weekend? I did. I'm just kind of curious.
What type of football? Liverpool big win?
No, like
1-0?
Like real football.
Yeah, that's it. Pretty big time, right?
No, I mean college football started.
City with the